In March 2026, Eon Systems released a video that looked like a standard 3D animation. It shows a digital fruit fly walking around a blank virtual space, stopping to groom its antennae and reaching out as if to feed. But there is no animator behind those movements. Every twitch of that leg and flutter of the wing is driven by a simulated biological mind operating directly inside the computer. For years, neuroscientists have mapped connectomes, detailed brain wiring diagrams. The goal is tracing every neural pathway to understand how architecture creates behavior. But this reveals a frustrating limitation. Once finished, you're left with a static map. Physical wires don't naturally possess electricity or thought. If researchers could find a way to pump simulated electricity through that static map and bring it to life, it would prove that physical wiring alone is enough to generate biological behavior. To build a living map, researchers started with the Flywire project. This is a completed wiring diagram of an adult fruit fly brain, cataloging roughly 140,000 individual neurons and 50 million synaptic connections. Acquiring that data required years of international collaboration, slicing brain tissue into microscopic layers and scanning it under electron microscopes to trace each individual thread. To transform that static map into a dynamic engine, a team led by Philip Xu applied a mathematical concept called a leaky integrate and fire model. In this setup, a simulated neuron slowly fills with electrical potential. When it hits a specific threshold, it fires a signal and then slowly drains. By pairing this model with machine learning that predicts whether a signal should excite or inhibit the next neuron in line, you get a chain reaction. Electricity flows strictly down the predefined biological pathways. There is no trial and error training loop here. The software relies on the physical routing of the wires. The results from Xu's 2024 paper showed this mathematical spark could predict real biological fly actions, like feeding and grooming, with up to 95% accuracy. The exact physical structure of the network dictates the function of the brain, but a brain calculating signals in a void cannot physically act. To observe those mathematical predictions as actual behavior, the connectome needed a physical vessel. Researchers connected the brain mall to a highly realistic virtual body called NeuroMechFly version 2. Built inside a physics engine from biological X-ray scans, this digital body features 87 independent joints and interacts with virtual gravity and contact physics. This visualization outlines the perception-action loop. It starts when sensory signals from the virtual environment, like the simulation of dust on an antenna, flow directly into the digital connectome. The simulated neural activity then races in the exact biological pathways mapped by Flywire, ultimately firing a set of motor neurons. Those motor outputs are what physically drive the joints of the digital vessel. Because of that closed loop, the virtual fly begins to behave. It cleans itself when it gets dusty, walks across the surface, and extends its proboscis when it senses food. By successfully routing perception through a biologically accurate map to generate action, researchers sparked a whole brain emulation inside a virtual space. We do need to look at the scientific caveats. The leaky integrate and fire model is a simplified version of real chemistry. The virtual environment is basic, and there is no evidence that this simulation experiences consciousness. Still, the experiment proves a monumental concept. Complex, coordinated biological behavior can be generated by simulating the physical architecture of an animal's wiring. Eon Systems is using this as a foundation. The objective is to map larger nervous systems and scale up this process to create more advanced digital minds. This chart shows the immense computational jump required for the immediate next step. We have to scale up from the 140,000 neurons of a fruit fly to map the 70 million neurons inside a mouse brain. Scaling that same chart exponentially brings us to the human brain, containing 86 billion neurons. While emulating an insect is a milestone, bridging the gap to human-scale complexity represents a theoretical and computational challenge that still lies decades away. This digital fruit fly stands as a witness to a core truth of neuroscience, that much of an animal's behavior is deeply embedded in the physical structure of its wiring. For the first time, we are seeing the direct link between a map and a mind.